Hold that right there. Don't
Okay.
worry. This is the most important thing that I want to show you today, Tom.
Tom here at Sharpening Supplies, and I've been joined by Hap Stanley, and you're the mind behind Nano Hone, and you've come here to show us how to sharpen some knives.
Well, I'll show you how I do it.
Excellent. Yeah, that's what
I don't know if it's the only way, but it's a way.
No, there is only one way to sharpen a knife,
Right.
as we all well know. So yeah, I'm really interested to learn how to sharpen knives from you. And so we've got some Nano Hone products out here. Can you just walk us through what we've got out on the table to begin with?
Sure. So today we prepared, looks like 3 stones. Maybe we'll add one more here as we go. The NS400 is a 400 grit or 35 micron ceramic water stone. It falls in the 400 grit range. We have a NS1000 here, which is a 15 micron ceramics water stone. And then my NS10K, which is our 10,000 grit ceramic water stone. I think we'll probably put something here in the middle. Let's just grab a 3000. May I?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we'll get an NS3000 here, which is a really nice middle stone. I like this very much as a middle stone. So let's put the 400 up here first, and we'll take this Japanese santoku knife.
Okay.
Three virtues, right? Meat, fish, and vegetables.
Right,
Yes.
right. It's
Yeah, tokui, tokubetsu, right? Santoku. And I'll put it up here. And the way I sharpen, I approach the stone with the knife out here in front of me and the edge to the inside, and I kind of make a triangle. You can see that triangle here. And I tend to sharpen with both hands.
Yeah.
So especially a double bevel knife like this one. So I'll hold it with my finger extended, and sometimes I like to just, sight right down it, but really as an extension of my arm. And I would do the same thing over here, this way. So I would hold it exactly the same way, my left hand, as I would in my right hand. So I hold it like this in a triangle and work it this way. And for people who aren't practiced sharpeners, I recommend only using trailing edge strokes.
Right.
So going away from the edge. And I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm just going to put the knife on the stone, and these are trailing edge strokes. I'm trailing away from the edge.
Right.
And I can go very, very fast. I mean, these are all trailing edge strokes. If you look, I'm going right away from the edge, and I can go really, really fast.
Do you recommend that beginners go fast?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. But my point is you can.
Right.
And so it's, you think trailing edge is really inefficient, but it's actually not. You can do quite a bit with it. And then transition to my left hand, and I do the same thing. And so I'm just, going from tip to choil, right down here, and just following it. Just like riding a motorcycle around a curve in a mountain. I'm just following it right around.
And so why would you recommend that beginners do just edge trailing?
Because if you do edge leading, you're going to increase your sharpening angle, and you're going to bury the edge into the surface of the stone. And even if it's just a little bit, that's going to tend to blunt the knife.
Mm.
But if you're doing trailing edge sharpening, you're always going past the edge. You're always drawing out the edge. So even if your angle changes slightly, you're still drawing out the edge. So with trailing edge strokes, holding a perfect angle is not critical.
Right. Great for beginners.
So try it.
Okay. So you have your finger on the back like that, and then
Hold that right there. Don't
Okay.
move. So this is the most important thing that I want to show you today, Tom.
Okay.
Your left hand looks really scary to me. If you slipped,
Yeah.
what would you cut? You'd cut your thumb really
Right.
badly. Oh. Put your thumb up in the air and your pinky up in the air.
Okay.
You know, just like the shaka,
Right. Yeah.
right? Sharpen with that.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, what happens if you slip?
Well, it's
There's nothing to hit. You're not going to hit your thumb.
Cool.
If you learn one thing from me today, learn that.
Okay. One thing to practice.
Yeah, it's just a great safety thing, right?
Okay.
Now this, go back and do it again.
Yeah.
Hold it. Now, I don't know if we can see this angle, but your wrist is bent right here.
Yep.
All right. Now look at my wrist.
So you're flaring your elbows out further in order to have a straight wrist.
From my elbow to the tip of the knife
Yeah.
is a nice straight run. So as soon as you bend your wrist here, now all the energy from your shoulder gets lost in this joint, and you're giving up the energy right here.
Okay.
But if you're keeping your arm straight like this, look how nice and clean it is. See what I'm getting at?
Yep.
So see if you can hold that. See if you can get that nice straight line going. And it may mean turning your body just the other way. Turn your body a little bit.
So I think what I was doing is I was trying to have the knife too horizontal to the stone, whereas you have it kind of like a little bit more in line.
Well, one of the cool things here with my system is you can turn this way to accommodate that. So if you want to be more like that, you can do it, but try to keep that point of your point of your index finger, the point of the knife, and your elbow in a nice straight line.
Cool. So I'm still flexing that wrist.
All right. Beautiful. You're holding the angle perfectly. Now switch hands or transition. Right. So bring that index finger on the spine of the knife, thumb right here. Yep. Right? Perfect. Well done.
So I'm accustomed to doing the pinky up, but it's the thumb that's...
It's the thumb that's going to get cut.
Yeah.
If you slip and you have that thumb drop down. Yeah. And I see a lot of people sharpen like that, and it just really always kind of gives me the willies because I tend to sharpen pretty fast.
Right.
And if I had my thumb down there, I would have cut it really badly by now.
Hey, thumbs, who needs them?
Oh, yeah. The choil, this part of the knife down here, and the tip tend to be the most difficult.
Yeah.
And this from here to here is always pretty easy. Almost everybody can get to it. So what you need to do is concentrate on the tip. And what I do is I pivot. I put this index finger here and pivot right here so I can just work. See how I'm pivoting? See what's happening? Kind of like my little chicken wing arm here, right? But I'm pivoting around this finger, right? So I'm getting that point. And then for the choil back here, I use this finger and hook it along the side. And I designed this holder, the stage, to be really smooth. Put your finger right along there.
Right, yep.
There's nothing getting in your way.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you can take your finger and just ride right along there without catching on anything. So I hook my finger down there, then I put my pressure right down in there, and now I'm able to apply a lot of pressure. Oh, I should stick with the trailing edge. There we go.
Keep it nice and simple for me.
Yeah, keep it simple. I get carried away. Look at all the metal that's piling up in the water. You see it piling up in there? I don't know if that'll show up on camera, but I can switch, put my finger over here, and do the same thing And really, you know, I'm able to work that choil area. Stick with those trailing edge and then finish up lightly. Right? Now we've got the point and the choil pretty good.
What are you feeling for when you're touching the edge there?
I'm just looking to see if we have sharpened all the way out to the edge.
Okay.
And at this point, I think we're ready to go up to a finer grit stone.
Cool.
Now, this knife's pretty clean. It doesn't really have any big nicks in it. If it did, I would have started by putting the knife vertically and working the whole curve of the knife down to the bottom of the deepest nick.
Why wouldn't you have just sharpened until the nick disappeared?
You tend to work one area, and what'll happen is you'll mess up the fair curve of the knife. You'll over sharpen one area, and you won't take enough material somewhere else, and so the fair curve of the edge will not be maintained.
Nice.
If you work it this way, you know, you can work the whole edge, and you want to bring it down to the bottom of the deepest nick and maintain the fair edge.
So bringing it all down evenly. So it's probably quicker to go.
Oh, it's much faster.
Right. Cool.
So I call that jointing the edge. And I do jointing at several steps along the way in sharpening. So if it were nicked, I would have done it here, but we didn't need to do it in this case. So now we can just go up to the next stone. And this is so clean, I think I'm even just going to skip the 1000 and we'll go right to the 3000, which is a 6 micron abrasive. But I also just want to clean things up a little bit so I don't drag that 400 micron abrasive up on top of this finer grit stone. I think we have a paper towel here. Starting to make a little bit of a mess. I am a bit of a messy sharpener.
So am I. It's all good. And is that just experience that's telling you that you can skip the 1000 grit at the moment, or are there other signs that people can look for to know what kind of grit progression to use?
Well, I think if you have a consistent edge and you've sharpened all the way out to the edge, you can feel the 400 grit tooth getting out there. Another thing, if this were a thicker knife with a bigger bevel and more material, it would be more efficient to go in smaller steps.
Okay.
But with a thinner piece of steel like this, you can get away with bigger jumps.
Okay, cool.
So I think it's more about the thickness of the knife.
Right.
And so we'll come back over here and we'll do the same thing. And it's very nice to look at the top of the stone and see what you're hitting. See that?
Yeah.
You can actually see the metal, being abraded there in the top of the stone. And turn and do it. All right, so why don't you jump in there and let's see. And you can turn this and adjust it as you need to. Yeah, and try to get from tip to choil in one. There you go. One pass. There you go. Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many passes typically do you do on one side?
I tend to do more on the left than I do on the right.
Okay.
Because I'm right-handed.
Yeah.
So I tend to do 2 or 3 to 1 on the left side.
Interesting.
So 10 over here, I do 20 or 30 over there. All right, why don't you transition to the other side? You may want to turn this a little bit.
And then, there we go.
It's kind of nice to be able to turn the stone like
really
that.
Nice, yeah. The whole setup is pretty handy.
So these trailing edge strokes, they're going to tend to kind of draw out the edge.
Yeah.
You'll get what we call a foil edge.
Yeah.
And when you feel for a burr, I just noticed you took your thumb and went like this.
Yep.
I recommend against that.
Okay.
because the burr is very, very fragile.
Hmm.
And if you take your thumb and you start pulling and playing with it, it's actually going to poke a hole through it.
Right.
That little bit of the burr will fold over to the other side. So if you want to feel for the burr, feel along the whole burr on one side or the other. I think it's easier to feel it on this side, but you can feel for consistency along the edge of the burr.
Yeah.
But it's always supported because you're moving along the burr. You're not pushing the burr to the other side.
Okay.
So try to keep that in mind. The burr is really fragile.
Yeah.
And that'll come up in a minute when we go to do the jointing. But, you know, I'm just going to keep doing what you did there. Just you can see that, right? Tip to choil. And then come over here and tip to choil, right? Just like that. All right, shall we go to the 10,000?
Oh, let's do it. Yeah. I
All
thought
right,
you'd
so-
never ask.
You remember what I did when I transitioned to smaller stones?
You washed off the higher grits.
Yeah.
Or the
I must have been a great student in school.
So if we're doing the Hap technique, so then you'd be fairly square on.
Let me see.
Yeah.
I have to do it once here.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess I'm kind of wide and this direction
Yeah.
to the stone. There we go. That's how I might straighten this up just a little more. Right? So that's probably how I work.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Cool.
And then, well, I'll
Yep.
switch and do the other side. But look where my head is.
You're right over it. Yeah.
Head is right over the top of the stone. I have to kind of do it to think about it, but that's really how I sharpen. So right out over it.
Okay. So it was useful to see that you're kind of like hinging forward at your hips. I think it's important to point that out, that like your back wasn't collapsing, because otherwise some people might get over like this and being in this position for a long period of time.
Yeah,
it's
it's
gonna be bad
not
for you.
good. Yeah.
So you're definitely keeping like a neutral back, but you're right over it.
Watch that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, watch it still. Yeah. Try to keep that, concentrate, on that line. Because that's what's going to give you your fine control over angle.
Right.
If you have this bent, now you have multiple angles to worry about.
Yeah.
But if you have it straight, you really only have one thing, the rotation of your wrist. That's the only thing that you have to focus on for tool angle. Yeah, that's nice. Try switching to the other hand, transition. And you can see the scratches in the stone and how they're kind of making a pattern. And you can see whether you're consistent left to right. Now, why don't you turn the stone end for end? You can do it two ways. You can spin it around.
Okay, right. So
right, or you can take it off, and either way.
And that's just because we were wearing one end a little bit more than the other.
Yeah. Well, you can see you're not even touching these areas, and you're getting more wear down here. So just try to use the stone more evenly. Right. Beautiful. All right. So let's see where we're at. Let's rinse this off a bit. That's a wicked nice edge.
Okay.
But it's what I would call extruded. You've drawn it out. And so it's going to be, even though it's very sharp, it's going to be weak and fragile out there. Another term would be foil. It's like a piece of foil along the edge. So when you feel the edge, what I would suggest is that you put your thumb on the spine of the knife, 4 fingers down. Because you have your thumb here, you can lift your fingers away. So it's very safe. It's not so safe if you just try to touch the edge like this, but as long as you anchor it with your thumb, now you can feel the edge. Close your eyes and just feel right along the edge. And what I would do now is what I would call my jointing technique. And before we do it, I'm going to clean the stone up a little bit, just so you can see better in the surface what we're going to do. So I'll just flatten this real quick. So we have a nice clean stone now. I'm going to take the edge, I'm going to put it vertically right on the stone, and I'm going to pull it right along, and if you look at the top of the stone, you see that black line? That's the burr.
Okay.
And we've cut it off. And now if you feel the edge, it'll feel slightly, ever so slightly different.
Okay.
I'm not sure sharper or...
Have you not blunted it now by doing that?
Ever so slightly.
Okay.
I just very lightly did that.
I mean, it still feels pretty sharp.
It does. Now come back and just feather that right in. Just feather that right in. Very, very light. I'm using the lightest stroke here. Just so light. And now we're done.
Okay.
Now feel that. That's sharp.
Feel sharp for sure. Yeah.
That'll really cut you. So that's a 3-stone progression, and we were careful that
That's sharp.
it's doing its job. We were careful to keep the stones clean and flat, chamfer the edges, and we paid attention to our body language just to make it more consistent and easier to sharpen. So that's Hap's method.
Excellent. Yeah, that jointing was definitely new to me, and obviously having my thumb in a dangerous position is what I'm used to doing. So let me know in the comments how many times my thumb was in the way. That'll be nice. So thank you very much for teaching me that, Hap. I'll leave a link in the description below if you're interested in getting any of the Nano Hone products. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please consider subscribing, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Oh, what's wrong with my collar?
Oh.
Yeah. John, do you want to describe? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There you go. All set.
Has it been like that the entire video?
Yep.
Because I'm learning this, I think going nice and slow.
Oh, slow is good.
Yeah. Come in.